Hi, hi, hi. Right, no time to lose. 2 o'clock on a Thursday. So much going on. It's very exciting. Don't think about the Christmas break. You just have to keep getting all of the things done. We will get there. I hope you're doing very well indeed. I've got a new agenda for us this week. Let me show you what I mean, if I can make the computer work. So we're welcome to the live stream as ever. Here we are, going through the things that are new, exciting and relevant this week, and trying to make them ever more relevant by just switching up the agenda. I think historically we have gone through task of the week, reporting spotlight from our own correspondence, and I think we have done a really good job of exhausting that particular approach to things. What I think we're going to do now is turn it a little back onto you. We are very, our entire business here is reliant on doing the things that will help you, will add value to you. The only point in writing software like this is if you get some use and value out of it. So here's a new agenda for us to try to reorient ourselves a little bit towards that sensible state. We are going to look at all the things that are changing in the industry and see how Consonance is helping you deal with it. And I mean, it's a truth, isn't it? There's always change. Sometimes it is exciting change. Sometimes it is not exciting change, but change nevertheless inflicted upon you from outside needs to be done. And so we shall have a look at the things that are changing this week and how we're helping. We're going to look at reach. So by reach, we mean, we're always trying to help you sell more books if that's relevant. And if it's not relevant, to help you publish the books, to spread the intellectual property that you have licensed from your authors and agents far and wide. You've made this promise to take some intellectual property and do sensible things with it. We're here to enable you to do it. So in the reach segment, we're going to be looking at how are we helping you disseminate your information far and wide? I've got a piece there about expertise because one of the things that Consonance can do is provide the tools for you to learn and engage and develop your own knowledge professionally and personally and to understand your data ever more. So we'll be looking at that sort of thing. Consonance is one version of the truth. It has a very powerful search engine. And so another aspect of this is about depth, about giving you the tools to dive into your data and come back up with insights. And not just data, your processes as well. How, when you've got 800 products being published in the next year, how do you make sense of that? How do you orchestrate it? How do you dive into that information, arrange it and come out knowing what's going on and what needs to happen? So there's a piece about depth. And finally, there's a thing about speed. I said at the beginning, let's go, we've got lots to do. There is always lots to do in publishing. We're never going to get to the bottom of the to-do list. We absolutely owe it to ourselves to be as fast and efficient as possible in all of the stuff that we have to do. Computers are here to save us from the drudge work so that we can get on with the important human creative brain work. So we'll be looking at ways that we can make you speedier, harness the power of technology in a sensible way. So that's what's on the list for this week. Be very interested to hear what you think about it, by the way. Have we got this right? Are these the things that you care about? If they are, let me know. If they aren't, let me know. And we'll have a look at it. And these things evolve over time, don't they, as well? But definitely keen to hear feedback as ever. Right, let's crack on with the first thing. So change, as we know, in the news at the moment is EUDR, and it is changing at pace. It is change that is changing. The latest news, which you'll, if you're keeping your eye on your notifications in Consonance, that's the best place to get whatever the latest is. But there's a big meeting tonight, a meeting between parties. And that will be the point at which we'll know one important piece of news, which is this going to be delayed? So at the moment, the plan is for the legislation to be rolled out at the end of this year. The meeting tonight suggests that there is a really high likelihood that there's going to be a delay, but do watch out. There's no certainty or insight or otherwise as to whether books are going to be excluded from the scope of the legislation until next summer. So don't have anyone telling you that EUDR is cancelled. It's absolutely not something that anyone has the power to affirm to you at this point in time. So like I say, keep an eye on your email, because that's where notifications from Consonance come from. Keep an eye on the Consonance interface, because the same notifications are there for the latest, and we will bring it to you as it unfolds. So good bit of change there. Change that has been, I suppose, I'm going to use the word imposed upon all of us from a sort of external force, the EU. I think it's wholly good news, right? Anything that enables us to all try to live happily on this planet in concert with nature has to be a good thing. But it is change that requires process changes and a lot of collaboration between players in the industry. So it's this sort of thing that we're going to cover in this segment every week, I think, if this new plan sticks. Second thing on the list of change, I just did want to share the absolute epic piece of work done by the team here to upgrade our accessibility tests in Consonance. So this is not to do with your ebooks being accessible, for instance. This is to do with our interface being accessible to you, the paying customer. So we're talking things such as colour contrast in the interface. Have we got any instances of text where it's a subtle yellow on a background of white, so that the human eye cannot possibly interpret that? And what about font sizes? What about spacing? And all of the good rules that are laid down by parties within the web development trade to enable us all to have a good stab at making our interfaces as accessible as possible. I think I'll just quickly show you a couple of things about that, although I won't linger, because it's not, as I say, it's not to do with your actual products, but this is the service you pay for. And, as you can tell, this week I'm interested in making sure that we are delivering value in the way that you need it to be delivered. So it's insight for you. So I'm on my local machine here. This is a page that stays up on my machine quite often throughout the day, and it is my part of our test suite, and it's the part that shows whether the changes I'm making in the interface when I'm working on the code, like all of the team here, are those changes breaking anything in the interface? And so it's interesting to see, look, that we have two different types of these tests. We've got accessibility tests and visual regression tests. Visual regression meaning I've just made a change to the code base. Is there now a change visually in the interface that means that I've changed something that I may not have expected to change? So let's have a look at just one of these types of tests. This is in the Firefox browser, and it's a cool thing, this Playwright library that we use. It's generated a snapshot which is actually quite interactable. I can hover over buttons and see the hover state. I can change things. It's quite useful in that regard. And then this is a passing test, so this is called a fixture. The code that I'm writing at the moment hasn't changed anything about this. But in some of these failing tests, there may be something that is unexpected, and I get to see, an error that might have happened, and then I get to see what has actually changed. And so there's some minor spacing changes going on here. So and quite big changes here because it looks like one of the BZAC codes hasn't loaded. So really useful tools. Automated testing can only get you so far in accessibility, but that's that is, one of the many tools in our toolkit to try to make sure that our interface is not producing any problems for you, but also is not changing without us knowing about it. It sounds silly, but Consonance is a vast code base, and so automated tests like this mean that we can move fast and not break things, as the adage doesn't go. So we've upgraded our accessibility tests. We are now, if I just look in our code base, actually, I'll show you the measures that we're on now. We are looking at these sorts of things. So the best practices from the accessibility library, and then making sure that we're adhering to all of those other WCAG levels as well. So sterling bit of work there. And these tests run every single time we change the code. If I go to my browser now and I look at our file, our code repository, you've seen the tests on my local machine. As a developer, as I'm writing code, I can check what the outcome is across the board. Then when that piece of work is done, we push our code up to this code repository. Means our code is distributed. It's not all centralised in one particular place, so that's good for business risk. And then all of these tests run every single time we want to push code into our main branch, and then push it on to the various instances that we have of our code. There's one main public cloud which many of our customers use. Some of our larger customers have their own individual instances of the same code. And you can see that these are the Playwright visual regression. Can't see, it's tiny. You can see that these are the Playwright visual regression and accessibility tests, which are green, which is great. I've got some integration tests here. The library is called Cucumber. So those are end-to-end tests, like user story tests. I've got more of them here. Then I've got some unit tests and some linters as well. Down at the bottom here, Rubocop checks that our syntax adheres to certain rules that we've signed up to. Linters and prettier and other things as well. So, a lot of use in automated checks and balances on something as large as Consonance. But these are all important things that happen behind the scenes so that we can move quickly when change affects you. And so that if you come to us saying, here's the latest from Ingram or here's the latest from the EU, we have got the tools in place to be able to make changes without worrying that we're going to cause some sort of regression. I think there's many tens of thousands of lines of code test. It's quite the thing, and it costs money as well. It costs money to run these tests on every push, but that is the name of the game, isn't it? Reliability, resilience, and being able to move fast, just like you. We have to, on your behalf. Great. What's next? This new segment. Oh, it is quite exciting, isn't it? Love change. Reach. In Reach today, we are going to be talking about massive reports. And I've actually had to fake 6,000 new random cat books to show you this, because poor old Feline Press doesn't have enough content to show you the immense scalability power of Consonance. So let's have a look, shall we? What I'm going to do is scamper through a list of thousands of results. Now this is new. It may not even be pushed to your Consonance as I'm recording this, as I'm broadcasting this, but later on today you will see it. So let's go to our old friend reporting, and we're going to create a new report, and we're going to give it not very many results, and this is in fact we're going to give it not very many conditions and lots of results. Let's actually just get everything we've got, because I want to demonstrate a report running with a lot of data and there being no impediment, no slowdown. So last time we did a live stream, I think there were 200 products. Now we've got over 5,000. Gosh, I hope the world can cope with all of these new cat books. I feel sure it can't. So what we're going to do is pull up the products list. So what it's doing now, you can see at the top, we're loading in chunks of 500. And actually that was really, really quick, because the clients that I'm thinking of when we're writing features like this have hundreds of thousands of records that can load into a poor little browser page like this. So this is a really exciting moment for us, actually, because when people talk about scalability, you can hand wave about it and say, well, it just needs to be scalable. What does that mean in practice? It means that web pages load efficiently. It means that no matter whether you're retrieving one result or 50,000 results, you're going to get the same kind of normal behaviour. You do not want pages crashing, you don't want them slowing down, you don't want to feel that your experience is sluggish. Because if there's one thing that's true, we are all getting more and more and more data, and we have to be able to deal with it quickly and swiftly, and to have our experience not marred by it. So let's do that again. I'm not going to zoom in this time. I want you to watch the bit at the top, refreshing the page. This is doing a report of 5,000 odd products, and we're loading it in chunks of 500 so that the web page gives you, the first results quickly, but it loads it then in the background. I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to scroll down as we go, because that's another measure of sort of scalability, isn't it? Is your experience fast? So refreshing the page, and now we're going to scroll down, and we're scrolling down through 5,000 odd records now. So that's a really pleasing and rapid way to go about looking at your data. Another thing that is quite pleasant as well is being able to get that data and do something with it. So I can copy to clipboard. That's nice and fast. And if I go to a page like this, not a page, where are we? We're in LibreOffice, which is like Excel, but open source. So I've pasted that in, and there's my data. So all of that data, it was straightforward to retrieve, it was quick to load, and I've got it out of Consonance and into a format that I can now do whatever else with. These reports are savable, of course, duplicatable, editable, and whilst we've looked for, well, nothing in this case, we can do a search and then see the results in a lot of different flavours. We're going to be talking about this a little bit later on today, so we will look at that again. But loading to-dos, fast as you like. 500 to-dos isn't that many though. Let's have a look at prices. There's quite a few prices. Oh, not enough to slow it down apparently. 600 prices, bish bash bosh, jobs a good 'un. So that is our way this week of helping you with achieving reach, because if you are in the position where you are taking on a lot more intellectual property and you are publishing it in as many different formats as you are permitted to do, then the amount of data that you're dealing with is big now, and it's going to get bigger. So I'm really pleased to be able to say that Consonance is as fast as that on loading. Absolutely tremendous bit of work there from the team and everyone. Great, moving on to expertise. So what we want to do is make sure that we are giving you as much capability as possible of being as expert as possible in both the publishing trade and also your own data. And so this new page that we've launched, again, another absolute magnum opus from the team here. Is that even the right word? A tremendously epic thing has occurred. And I'm going to show it to you now. It's been live for a few days, so you might have seen it, you might not have seen it. We're going to go into a particular contacts record and have a look at it. So I'm going to go back to my page here. Let's look at Evermore Cats. Evermore Cats indeed. This is the work page for Evermore Cats Through History. This, I mean, I'm sorry it's all made up, but especially with contact data, it has to be made up because I can't share real contact data on the internet. That is not the done thing. So just imagine, Evermore Cats Through History is written by Mary Glover. Let's click on Mary Glover to see what her page in Consonance looks like. Mary Glover doesn't exist. She's a figment. And we're taken to this page, and we've popped this in because it's a big new page. We want you to notice it. This is a new overview page for this contact. And there is a lot more access to a lot more information now per contact than there was previously. It's modelled a little bit on the work overview page. You know, you'll see some similarities. We're definitely in dashboard mode, aren't we? But here at the top, we've got profile summary, and we've got some useful information about Mary Glover, what sort of a contact she is, any tags that she has been included on, or any tags that have been added to her record. We've got a biographical note, we've got any relationships, and don't overlook these useful buttons here as well. This icon means copy to clipboard, and if I click it, the information is copied to the clipboard, and then I can paste that into an email or so on. Things that look like a link in Consonance are a link. This is a website. And so if I click on Christmas card list, for instance, I can right mouse and open a new tab so I don't lose my place and have to find the imaginary Mary Glover again. So these are all of the people who are tagged up as being on the Christmas card list. So, you know, following your nose is a very great way to move through Consonance. And then scrolling down, we've got some more information. Here's some metadata. And when you see buttons through to the reporting area, that's always an opportunity to click on and spark up a new report based on exactly this information. So, you know, follow your nose, click around. And then at the bottom, we've got even more information about the other objects in the system that Mary Glover is involved with. So look, she's on 4 contracts. She's on 4 contracts where she's a payee. So, you know, these pieces of information give you insight, kind of at a glance, to sort of internalise what sort of a person or organisation she is. She's had two advances. She's been with us long enough to have 3 royalty statements, and there have been 2 payments made. There's a rights deal that she's involved with. You know, as I say, all of these are links, so clicking through takes you to drilling down into the detail, depending on what you want to do. I've just clicked on that by accident. So here's the rights deal that she's involved on. Hit the back button. That's good though, actually. Back button, links, buttons, opening a new tab. Use your knowledge of the internet and apply it to Consonance. We try really hard to be internet normal because your objective is to get on with your publishing day, not to learn somebody's random new interpretation of what interfaces should look like. So trust that what we are trying to do here is bring you standardization and, you know, reaching high standards like with those accessibility tests. You know, Consonance is a good website, and you can rely on the norms of the internet, just as we do. And we've got some project management stuff at the bottom here. Mary Glover has received a track copy. She's got 5 outstanding to-dos, and she's got a role. She has the role of sales manager on one work. And again, we can set up a report to have a look further at that. So, you know, with your real information, this page will be really fascinating for your contacts. So we're not just talking about contributors here, we're talking about data aggregators, printers, suppliers, and you know, the more coming up, for example, with the EUDR stuff, if you're on a printer profile here, you're going to be able to see all of the relevant associated information that the printer is involved with. So, you know, it's really helpful to have this one version of the truth. It's not modular, so it's not like there's some data in a pocket of application here and some over here. You know, you can really lean in to this idea that you have put all of your information into one place and it's joined up. So, you know, definitely enjoy making the most of it. So absolutely wonderful new page here, and you can see more opportunities to dive into information with these extra pages along the top. These are the track copies sent to Mary Glover. Here are the royalty statements and payments. Here are the works that Mary Glover is a contributor to. And then, you know, clicking through from that into the work area. So we can like click through ever more cats throughout history, and then we're back into the work area, following our nose, etc. So yeah, cracking new page. Feedback always welcome, absolutely. Now, did I adequately explain this last bit here? Roles are not the same as contributions. I don't think I did. Let's just have a quick look at that. When we were looking at Mary Glover on the overview page, we can see that she is a contributor to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 works here, and she has the contributor role of A01, which is by brackets author. So this is what we would call a contribution. A person or organisation has contributed to a work, and they might be an illustrator, a translator, a libretto writer, the author, the series editor, so on and so forth. And it's that sort of information that goes out in Onyx that enables you to spread the word about who has contributed to what. All very excellent and useful. But there are certain times when you interact with a person or organisation, and it's really important that you know what the nature of that interaction is, but it's not to do with contributing to a work. It might be that they're a printer, or it might be that they're a sales manager, right? Or it might be that they're the project editor, or the managing editor, or the production controller, or, you know, all of these people. You definitely don't want that information going out in Onyx. That would be weird. The world does not need to know who your internal team was on a particular work. The world does not need to know who out of your freelance rota you have brought in for this particular work. They don't need to know who the printer is. They don't need to know who the data aggregators are. But you need to know that information in order to keep the wheels on the train going whilst you publish 800 products a year. So roles are not the same as contributions, and we don't want to have any sense of conflating those two things. So, you know, if we look at, if we go to Cats Throughout History, let's have a look at the roles on that particular work. So in project management, here's the roles bit. And, you know, like I say, it's things like allocating editor, artwork director, managing editor, production controller, and here's Mary Glover, the sales manager. So it's really important that we keep track of these things for auditing purposes, for knowing how the project went purposes, for allocating tasks to the people involved, and for knowing whether things are on track. So now, you know, we've got these roles on this particular work. And we can see that we're using those roles to apply them to to-dos on the work. To-dos can be assigned to either a role or a person, and once a person is actually fulfilling that role, the to-do will update itself. So, you know, really, really useful to be able to put people against things that aren't work contributions. And so I just want to reassure you that Consonance thinks of those two things as very different things, and it means that we can do really cool things with allocating people and organisations to the right thing on a work. You know, it's always such a smell, isn't it, when you see in some software that they're having to do workarounds because they've got a bad data model. You know, the idea that you might only have one way of associating a person with a work, and then suddenly that information is going out in Onyx, or you have to tick an extra box to make sure it doesn't go out in Onyx. You know, that's just it's a smell, it's an indication that the data model isn't quite right. So I'm really glad that ours is just bang on, completely malleable, and we'll see what we mean. We'll have an example of that in just a moment. And here we are. I couldn't remember which order it was. So the next part of the live stream today is about depth, and it's about enabling you to plumb the depths of your data in interesting and relevant ways and come out with the answers that you seek. Here, what we're going to do, we're going to go back to the reporting area. We're going to search by product, but we're going to get results that are contributors. And I know we've talked about this ad nauseam in the live streams. I know that you know that this is how reports work, but I still think it just bears looking at from time to time, because it's really the holy grail, isn't it? You want to be able to say, for all of my ebooks that are going out in the next season, let me see all of the associated information. Let me see all of the extent information for the print equivalents of those ebooks. Or, I want to look at all of the products in a particular season. Now, tell me about the way that the pricing is looking on that. That sort of thing. So we're going to dive in. We're going to have a look at a report, and we're going to see what I'm talking about. So back to reporting. We're going to create a new report, I think. That's the best thing to do. And as I say, we're going to search by something to do with products. Now let's take the product title contains the letter A. That should cover it, shouldn't it? And we'll do a search, and it returns sets of data which are not all the same thing. And this is our first clue, isn't it? I've done a search for all of the products where the title contains A, and there are 5,193 products where the title contains the letter A. And there are 2 series that kind of are linked to those products that have a title that contains the letter A. And there are 5,145 works associated with those products. And there are 5,145 contracts. Do you see what I mean? You have to imagine one of those fancy graphics that marketing people like in technology, that's nodes and lines between them. And there's maybe a man in glasses swiping like Tom Cruise in Minority Report. Everything's connected. It's like a big sort of blobby web. And we use that idea to connect up your information. So that's how you can put a search in that says title contains A and get back contacts. And okay, I'll stop going on about it because I know you understand it. I know you get this, but it's still, oh, I can do that, can I? Wow. So let's see, let's have a look. Let's look at the products list, because that is not mind-blowing. That is straightforward. We have asked for all of the products where the title contains A, and here are all of those products. And that is not difficult for anyone's brain to parse, no matter how many mince pies they may have ingested that morning. But now what we're going to do is have a look at a contact custom report. Now, caveat, I am developing a feature on a branch here and it's a bit broken, and I didn't have time before the live stream to switch back to a branch and get everything set up again. So it's just the tiniest little bit on the wonk. So I'm just going to accommodate the wonkiness. So exciting, isn't it, to see the behind the curtain. Right, wonkiness over. So what I've done on my same search here, products, the title contains A, but we're looking at people's names, we're looking at contacts. What can even be going on here? And it's because of the blobby graph that I talk about. We're emitting the results of this report in a display that is called custom report, and it's a contact custom report. I've set it up and called it affiliation, and these are the columns that I have chosen to have in our report. So what I've been able to do basically is say, here's my, ebook list for next year. Tell me where all of the authors reside, because then I can send that to my salespeople and I can say, we've got 50 people on the list who are in your particular locale, so that's going to be really useful for selling in. Or, you know, professional affiliations. What have we got? Have we got any? No, because this is just imaginary data. But here's the biographical note. You know, show me all of the contacts that are associated with products that have got the letter A in the title, and then I want to see the biographical notes and know which countries they reside in, know where they formerly resided, know where they were educated, know where they're a citizen of. You know, this is a whole thing about selling books. This is what we need. We need to be able to mine our information in this sort of a way. So I wanted to just backtrack from here and go over to the custom report area so that I know that you can set this up for your own purposes. And actually, that is the vibe subject of the next slide, which is speed. And this is about creating regular reports. So I know that we've talked at length before about creating custom reports, but I was reminded this week, somebody wrote in because they're always, you know, having to go all around the system, getting different bits of information from here, there and everywhere in the service of putting together this spreadsheet for some company who need it. And they have to do it every month. And it's that sort of repetitive process that I feel, you know, we should have a stab at trying to delegate to a computer. Sounds like a very computery thing to do. So let's have a look at doing that. And it's that sort of mechanism that enables us to set up the custom reports that you can then emit your data from within the reporting area. So, you know, even if it takes 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes well spent so that you can then, you know, press a button every month or have it emailed to you every month instead of having to, you know, dot around this or any other system looking for it. So we're going to go to custom reports. Here it is in Insights. I click and I can see, look, here's our affiliation contact report. That was the one that we just saw. If I click on that, I'm going to see the headings that we were looking at, the contact ID, tags, person name. Here all of our currently resides in, formerly resided in, and there's lots of other columns that you can choose from to be able to construct a report. Definitely always let us know if there's something on this list that's missing that you need for a particular report. I showed you how we test. You know, it is straightforward to add things into Consonance. It's not going to slow us down. It's not going to make us inconvenienced in any way whatsoever. This is what we're here for. And you know, these sorts of ad hoc reports are by definition a bit prone to change and having new requirements come out, so definitely let us know and we can pop things in. But let's create a new custom report. I'm going to hit the back button. I'm going to click the button that says add custom report and we're going to start from scratch. And I have sourced a likely template from the internet from our good friends over at Vendor Central. I just wanted to find a plausible spreadsheet that people might have been saddled with from time to time over the years. I must just say, if you're trying to send information to Amazon on a spreadsheet for published to Kindle, please don't. Please use Onyx, because then all of your information is all in a lovely order, and that will be all great. So you know, you can think of this as an example of a plausible publishing spreadsheet, but you know, definitely if you're having to cobble together spreadsheets for anything, it's always worth an email to us just to check whether we know that they actually take Onyx or we know that they take some sort of API call before spending your precious life force on yet another spreadsheet. But this is where I've got this template from, and it's as colourful as you would imagine a publishing spreadsheet to be. It's full of things that you have to look at, and it's using colour for meaning, which is so let's just have a look at this and see how far we get in understanding how to map stuff in Consonance to stuff here. So let me just go back to our custom report. I'm going to say Kindle Publishing something, blah, blah. And let's save that, go into that report, and it's going to be empty, so we can start using adding columns. So add a column. And we can start having a look to see what our report needs. Well, the very first column, it says either 1 for yes or 0 for no. I mean, it's a spreadsheet. Why don't they just say yes for yes and no for no? But no, we have to use some fake binary string thing. Anyway, as I say, this is the whole thing. These spreadsheets are sent to try you. So let's play them at their own game. In this list, in the extras section, is the really useful. I'm trying to do three things at once and think about something. There's this really useful set of things that are not really to do with your data. They're just random words that you want to be able to print into a column. So you can print the word yes into a column. And this is really so that you don't have to do that thing of getting most of your data into a spreadsheet and then having to manually add in columns. The number 1, that's in here somewhere. It's in the extras column. Print the number 1. Fantastic. And then you can, drag these around and do various things with them. So all very, I mean, it's irritating to have to do it at all, isn't it? But point is, if you've got to do this sort of task, at least you can automate it and do it once, and then not have to do it every week or every month. So that's the first column. Second column, reference ID. A reference ID using EISBN is strongly recommended. There's no such thing as an EISBN though, is there? No, there's an ISBN because ISBNs apply to a product no matter what its format is. So saying that there's an EISBN seems to be very silly indeed, but that's okay. Don't worry. Because here in Consonance you can say ISBN 13 for the EPUB product. So you can click that one if you want, or you can click the ISBN 13 if you want, and then you're using this as the display of a set of results that include ebooks. But you have to be a little bit savvy in your mind, thinking, if I've said ISBN 13 for EPUB product, that's fine because that's at the work level. If I say ISBN 13 for the product, then you have to be really certain what product you're thinking about when you're generating the report. It makes sense when the report comes out and you see it. What's next? Well, that's another yes or no, something or something. But I will just show you that you can have kind of repeated columns in this. So let's find the number 1 again in the extras column. Print the number 1 again. So now we've got 1 yes, ISBN 13, another ISBN 13, and then the number 1 again. So these are like the columns that go across, right? So you can absolutely repeat yourself because spreadsheets repeat themselves, as we are seeing in real time. Other things, so imprint, title, these are not difficult ones to do. Let's add imprint and title. Imprint, tick that one. Let's do title, and you can actually do like more of these at once. You can sort of go title and subtitle and something else, and that will be fine. And then you can drag them around, that sort of thing. There was something at the end of this spreadsheet that I wanted to show you. So digital list price and currency. So again, I just need you to clock that when you're putting together a custom report, it's actually at product level. And most of these spreadsheets tend to trample all over that notion and have multiple products on one row in a spreadsheet. So effectively they're at work level. So you just have to be a little bit aware of what exactly you're thinking a row is. If you think that the row is product, then that kind of keeps you a bit straight. So when there's a column such as digital list price, I would encourage you to, when you're running this report, say, show me all of the products that are a product form of type, DG for digital, and an EPUB type code of 29, which is EPUB. And then you can say, and give me the list price for that product. Because, when we say digital list price, what does that even mean? I mean, it's given some example currencies here. Digital list price is required in at least one of the following currencies. It says like USD, GBP, EUR. It's really vague. It's really interesting. So you're going to have to, set up something like this. Let's have a look at the prices actually. So add columns. We need to go price. And we could say, USD, current consumer, RRPX tax. There are a lot of different options. So chances are the correct price pertaining to whichever spreadsheet you're trying to fill in will be on this list. We've also got some kind of catch-alls, which are these default price amounts and the default price and currency code. Those are a bit more relevant for putting on a nice marketing materials PDF actually, aren't they? Which we've seen previously, because this is the same list for spreadsheets, for the contact spreadsheets, and for the marketing materials as well. Yes, so just bear in mind that when we emit custom reports from Consonance, the rows are a product, and anything you define from that row is relative to that product. Just to very, very finally make that point, I wanted to, if we look at ISBN, we're thinking at product level at this point, but we've given you these methods that say ISBN 13 for the EPUB product. So we're sort of referencing out the siblings of whichever product we're on. So you can absolutely do it. You just need to keep straight in your mind what your starting point is and where you're going. Just trying to accommodate other people's spreadsheets, really. If everybody modelled their data correctly, then we wouldn't have to get complicated. But keeping the rows at product level seems to be the correct level of things. Always get in touch if you get in a pickle, and if you want us to create some of these reports for you, we can absolutely do that and drop it into your account. Always a pleasure, never a chore. Right, let's have a look to see how we have done on our new agenda, and we've done it. We have rattled through. So just go back to the agenda and recap. We've looked at things that are coming down the line for all of us. Change that is being imposed on us. How are we dealing with it, and how are we helping you to deal with it? So I feel like if we keep talking about that sort of thing, that's going to be ubiquitously relevant, the nature of change that we know. Then with reach, again, I'd be really interested to hear, have we got that right? Is that what you're trying to do? Are you trying to disseminate the output of your publishing programme far and wide? Are we right to be supporting you in that noble endeavour? I feel sure that we are, but I would love to hear your opinions on it. In terms of expertise, what would you really like to get really good at? Which areas of your data and processes would you like to have a better sort of grasp of? What tools would you like in Consonance to enable you to level up your skills and knowledge? We're really, really keen to hear. In terms of depth, being able to dive into these, into the reports, starting at a particular starting point, but then moving across your data, following this grid, this web. That is how you're going to be able to get from a starting point and follow your intuition through your data to get insights that you need to be the best you can be. So depth of querying, depth of understanding. Always let us know how we can help you in that. And then speed in terms of just getting through the day, having done everything. I mean, what a joy that is. to be able to say, I need to do X, Y, and Z, but at the end of the day, if you've had to spend 4 hours of it faffing around with a spreadsheet again, then that's not speed, that's not efficient, that is mind-bendingly awful. And, there are 100 ways to be efficient and accurate and organised without resorting to some of the more nefarious software products on the market. These are things that normal programming is absolutely outstanding at. And so, I'm really keen to highlight the aspects within Consonance that do exactly that. We haven't spoken for ages, for instance, about extracting the table of contents from your EPUB files and popping them straight into your metadata. I mean, it's that level of magic that's just a joy, because it saves you an afternoon. And more importantly, sometimes it saves you the embarrassment and shame of having one table of contents in the book and a completely different one on the internet. So speed, efficiency, being great at things, that's what we want. So drop us a line. There'll be a few more of these before Christmas. It's still only the 4th of December, but really always keen to hear what you think, know what you're trying to do and achieve in 2026. And so on that note, I will leave you, if you've not already seen it, with our Christmas advert that you can go and look on the internet at. I'm not going to play it now. And you can also see that my YouTube feed is mainly horses, music and The Cure. So go and enjoy the silly little advert that we put together. It's got Christmas elves in it, and it's got a list of things that, you might want in your Christmas stocking. Anyway, enjoy and give me a like and subscribe. I delight in seeing the thumbs ups, so you can enjoy doing that for me. Fantastic. Right, more next week. Have a good, productive, fast, speedy change, etc. week. Keep going. I believe in you. I'll see you next week. Take it easy. Bye.